Buenas noches. How's everybody feeling? Good? I want to begin by thanking Susan, who lives across the street. And instead of calling the police, came over to see what all the fuss was about, to meet Sima and learn why we had all come together, and introduced herself to me and told me that she has been a special ed teacher for 36 years. And as the brother of a sister who was in special ed classes throughout school, who had special needs, who got that attention from those teachers, I want to thank Susan for her public service. I want to thank her for being here tonight. I want to thank her for reminding us of why we have all come together. Teachers in Texas, on average, work a second or a third job just to make ends meet, when they clearly have the most important job in front of them in that classroom, unlocking that child's lifelong love of learning. If we're able to do that, there's no stopping that kid and what they're able to do over the course of their life for themselves, for their family, for their community, for Texas, and for this country. And I was so proud to be able to tell Susan about Sima, about her position on public education, how she wants to make sure that she fights for those classroom teachers, that she helps them to be able to teach to the kid and not to the test, to make sure that they don't have to work a second or third job, that they can have a retirement of dignity and not one of poverty. That's not an issue that should divide us based on party. You're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're an independent, you're a Texan, you're an American first. And you want to see those teachers succeed because those kids in school will be able to succeed. And it was much like the conversations we had as we knocked on doors throughout this neighborhood with Sima right now. She'd introduce herself, and then she'd listen. She'd say, tell me what's important to you. We listened to this guy named Paul, who said that he's concerned about the way that we suppress the vote in Texas. Until 2018, we were dead last in the United States in voter turnout. And it is not because we love our democracy less than any other state in the union. It's because we were literally drawn that way. If you're African American, Mexican American, depending on your race or your ethnicity, you will be drawn out of your congressional district to diminish the power of your vote, the likelihood that we will ever hear your voice, and so you're not fully participating in your democracy or in civil life. Sima says that she wants to make sure that we have nonpartisan redistricting commissions, that we end the practice of gerrymandering, that we get big money out of politics. And it made me so proud just to be able to listen to her. And it reminded me of the first time that I met her. In 2017, 3 years ago, I was not Beto O'Rourke. I was just Beto O'Rourke. No one had heard of me. I was an unknown West Texas congressman who was running against Ted Cruz, and I called as many of the power brokers in Houston as I could find in the phone book, and none of them at that time, and they can be forgiven for it, had the time for me. And they had plenty of other important things that they were doing in their lives, but a lot of them said, you should meet this woman, Sima Ladjevardian. She's an up-and-comer, she's getting involved in politics, in civic life, and she's just astounding. And I called Sima, and she had time for me. And she invited me to hers and Masoud's house, welcomed me in, asked me to tell my story, much the way that she asked voters today to tell her their stories. And she believed in me. And she got behind me when literally no one else was behind me, certainly not anybody at that time in Houston. And for those of you who know Sima, you know that you should be with her or you should get out of her way. Because she called every single human being that she knew in the city of Houston and beyond the city of Houston and said, you got to meet this guy, Beto. You got to give him some money. You got to give him a chance. You got to listen to him. And then you got to get behind him. And really through her force of personality and her extraordinary charisma and her belief in me and her belief in other people, she built this amazing team in Houston, which was the very foundation of that Senate run that Todd was just talking about. Not only did we go to every one of the 254 counties of Texas to transcend and break through that racist gerrymandering. We listened to everyone. We could care less whether you're a Democrat whether you're a Republican, whether you're an independent, all that matters is that you're a human being, and right now, at this moment, you care about this country, and you want to do everything in your power to make sure that she does better for every single one of us. We got more people to vote than had in any other previous midterm election. Won more votes than any Democrat had ever won. Saw young people turn out at an increase of 500% over the last midterm election. And though I may not have won the race that I was running, we won a lot more important races. 12 Democrats replaced Republicans in the State House of Representatives. 2 new members of Congress, Lizzie Panel Fletcher here in the Houston area, Colin Allred in Dallas, Texas. 17 African American women elected to judicial positions in Harris County, and a complete sweep of the county-wide offices in Harris. All of us made that happen, but its foundation was Sima Ladjevardian. I have seen her work. I have learned to be afraid of her. She never asks for permission, frankly, rarely asks for forgiveness. She's going to do what she knows to be right, what she knows to be necessary, and then she's going to do it because it's the right thing to do. Not for her, not for a political party, really not for anyone else, but for this country that she so strongly believes in. Check this out. This week, our governor of the greatest state in the Union, one of the most diverse states in the Union, home to the most diverse city in the Union, Houston, Texas, announced to the world that we would no longer accept refugees. To a state whose success and strength and safety and promise to the rest of the country is premised on the refugees and asylum seekers and immigrants who have come from the world over to call Texas home and to make us better by their very presence. There is not a better answer to that challenge than Sima Ladjevardian, who had to leave the country of Iran as a refugee, who was accepted by the United States of America, and who did everything that she could and still continues to do everything that she can to make this country better. She believes in this country because this country believed in her. That's who I want serving this community in the United States Congress. And look, the guy who is in there right now, Dan Crenshaw, this is Trump's guy in Texas. He has the Trump embassy right here in Houston. He has the Trump seat in the United States House of Representatives. That jingoistic, nativist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant rhetoric that not only affects our policies and practices, but fundamentally changes us as a country. You do not get kids in cages. You don't lose the lives of 6 of them who are in our custody, in our care, unless those who are in positions of power and public trust make it okay to do so. You don't have somebody bring an AK-47 that he drove 600 miles from Allen, Texas, to El Paso, Texas, to kill Mexicans, as he later told police, ending the lives of 22 people in the largest binational community in the Western Hemisphere, until you have people in positions of power and in public office who rev up the hatred and the white nationalism and arm that hatred with weapons of war that belong on battlefields and not in our communities. I want somebody in Congress that I can be proud of. I want somebody in Congress who will stand up to Donald Trump. I want someone in Congress who's going to make sure that we defeat white nationalist terrorism in the United States of America. I want someone who's going to be great on reducing gun violence in this country. Someone who's going to make sure that the least insured state in the United States, where the largest provider of mental health care services today is the county jail system, so that we know too many people in our lives with schizophrenia or clinical depression
or bipolar disorders who are locked up tonight in the Harris County Jail, the largest inpatient mental health care facility in the second largest state in the United States of America. I want someone who's going to fight for health care for each and every single one of us. I want someone who's going to fight the way I have seen Sima fight. Not ask for permission, not ask for forgiveness, but fight for every single one of us because it is the right thing to do. Ladies and gentlemen,